me just take a moment to appreciate the fact that my complexion is coming through. Like, I have struggled with my lighting, you guys. I finally played Tetris with my lights overhead. I have about 4 different types of light bulbs, and that kind of hurt my eyes. The lights are really close, the overhead lights, and they wash me out. But then when I turn them off, it's too dark. It's like the worst situation to find yourself in. So I finally figured out my lighting. I am looking dark-skinned, and I am very happy, because it's very hard to say I'm dark-skinned on YouTube when your lights are constantly washing you out and people are gonna start thinking you're crazy, you know. They already think I'm crazy because I say I have type 4 natural hair. So now that the announcements are out of the way, thank you for joining me on my channel. My name is Luyando. Everyone calls me Lulu. I'm terribly sorry for the long introduction, and I'll say this right now. Go down in the description box. I will have everything, bullet format, timeline for every single major point in this video on how to make a frontal wig. You click on the number icons. They will help you jump and skip to every single major point that you need to know, okay? So you don't have to watch this whole video. It would be nice if you did. And I'm not gonna go into how to slay a frontal wig so much, because that's not what I typically do. So as far as slaying, yes, we'll get into that, but it's not going to be like the way people do got to be glued, whatever. I'm even stressed just thinking about it, okay? I'm stressed just thinking about it. We're gonna go over how to properly sew a wig. That is the meat of this video. And all of the information you need will be down below about this hair, everything, Yolissa hair, that's where I got the hair from. All the information down below. I still haven't styled my hair, so don't judge me. All right, you guys, I am starting with my Q-Fit Make Your Own Wig Cap, and that is what I always try to use. I actually found it cheaper at one of my local beauty supply stores, so I'm really happy right now. I pin it down with my pearlized pins as always, and then go in with the frontal. I cannot remember what size frontal this is, because I think they carry 2 different sizes. But what I do is I bring the frontal forward about 1 centimeter, at least have the hairline part in front of the wig cap before I pin it down. So you might not be able to see it, but where my pre-plucked hairline is, all of that hair is in front, so that way my wig won't be too tight and it won't slide back. I don't want that mess happening when I wear it. I want that freedom of movement, and I just want it to have a really nice, secure fit. So I'm pinning it down in the back of the frontal and making sure that's nice and smooth, because smooth laying of the frontal or tracks or whatever makes for a smooth stitch. So make sure that's always smooth so that it's easier for you to sew as you go. And here we are, zoomed all the way in with our brightness on high, and I'm starting out by sewing through the frontal and the wig cap, and I'm pulling the thread, and you can see that's the end of the thread, and I'm just gonna go through with my needle and secure it that way. Very simple. Everybody should know how to do this part. But I'm going in and I'm making sure when I pull my thread through, the stitch that I do, every time I pull my thread through, it's in between the 2 sides. So like, it's harder to explain than it is to actually do. But when I sew through, and I'll show you better later, when I bring the thread back, it's always in the middle. The needle should always be in the middle when I'm coming back, if that makes sense. But don't worry, because I will show you better in a little bit. So I'm going to sew my entire frontal down, and now I've kind of run out of thread, so I'm going back up a little bit and secure it off. And that's it for my frontal. That is all. It's nice. Very nice, small, neat stitches. Took me about 10 minutes to do that part. It takes about 3, 4, sometimes 6 hours to do this, depending on how much hair I have. But this is the hair, Yolissa hair. I'm starting in the very back, and you have all of this on the tag. Flip the tag over, and you have your code. So here is the hair, straight hair, really nice and easy to deal with. I don't usually like straight hair, but I kind of like this because I guess I haven't used straight hair in a long time. So I'm like, yay. So now I'm sewing through the wig cap and a little bit through the actual frontal, so that way I can marry the hair to the frontal. I don't want any gaps. So I'm sewing through my bundle right on the very end, and that's just joining everything together. And you can see the thread coming up in the back. And right at the very end, right before the knot, I'm going to go through with my needle, and that will secure everything and make everything join beautifully. So now I'm gonna do the back and forth, and I'm pinning my hair down first. Always pin down first. That's the most important thing you can do, because you want your stitches to go in one direction and you want them to look nice, neat, and tidy. So I'm going down into the weft, and then I'm going in between and I'm pulling through. And then I'm going to do it again. So go down into the weft, and you can see the thread on either side, thread on the left, thread on the right, and my needle is now in the middle, and I'm gonna make sure I pull in the middle only, so that way I can kind of cage the weft and have a very nice clean stitch. So again, I'm sewing and I'm making sure my needle is in the middle with thread on either side every single time. That's the stitch that I do. So basically you can see I've rested my finger down to make sure hair doesn't go everywhere, and I sew and I make sure it's like I'm going back, so that way my needle can go in the middle. So you sew about 1/2 centimeter away from the first point, and then you kind of go back with it and make sure that the needle goes in the middle with 2 pieces of thread on either side, basically. But the visual really helps a lot more than my explanation ever will. So this is my stitching. It's very nice, neat, and tidy. Everything must be approximately 1/2 centimeter, I would say, give or take, because you can't make everything perfect, especially with these bright lights. I can't see anything, but I'm trying. Now I'm on the end, right? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I hit a corner, okay? I have a little bit of a gap there, and what I do first is I go under and make a stitch. So my stitch is the inverse of what I did before, but all I did was go under. Then I go through the weft, going from the underside through the weft, and then I go through the frontal, just about 2-3 millimeters into the frontal. And then again, I go in between the 2 segments of thread and I pull my needle through the middle. The same stitch, it's just that I'm doing it upside down this time. Okay? And after I do that, I'm just going to sew through and just go up a little bit so my end point is above the weft. Now, what I'm going to do is bring my weft right above and just pin it down. Pin it down and go all the way around. Make sure it's pinned in the direction I want to go. So here we are. I have to flatten it just a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is go from the top going down, and I'm going to sew through and pull through, just like normal. Okay, just like normal. And then I'm gonna carry on and continue the same way I've been doing. And make sure that stitch right before you flip over ends where the top of your second weft is supposed to be, so that way it's easy for you to continue and go back and forth. And that's all that I do as far as hitting a corner with my sewing. I want it nice, I want it flat, I want it neat, especially with straight hair. You can't make mistakes with straight hair because people are gonna see those lumps and bumps a mile away. So definitely, you know, make sure you have your nice, neat, flat stitches. Now I'm gonna show you what to do when you run out of thread by sewing through the weft first, okay? And come out on the other side and take these pearlized pins out. Then tie a knot and just bring the knot down as far as possible. You're at the back side of the weft now because you want to conceal all your knots. So everything's gonna be done on the back side. There's my knot right there, you can see it. And I'm gonna tie a second knot just so you guys can see, but all you really need is 1 knot. So here we go. I'm gonna tie my second knot and take my time. I'm making sure it goes all the way down to the weft so that way I can easily conceal the knot. So what I do is I sew through from the back going to the front, and all I did was go through right before the knot, and then I'm gonna go back and sew through, and I'll cut that because now we're done. Okay, now I have my other thread. I'm making a knot on my threaded needle, and I'm just gonna cut right there with the scissors, and I'm gonna go in to join. So I'm going to go in where I left off at the very bottom right there, and you can see that there's thread where I last stitched, and I'm going. Thread is coming up. It's pretty long, and it's gonna sit right there in the back of my weft, and I'm gonna go in again and continue sewing like I normally would, basically. So you can't even see what's going on back there at all. And this is perfect if you want to make a wig for a client. You definitely want to use this technique or something similar to this. Try to make your knots go in the very back, right behind your weft. Don't allow your knots to come forward. This makes for a nice, smooth, seamless look, and it looks a lot prettier than if you've got knots all over the place. And also when you're combing your hair, your knots will not get in the comb and get snagged by the comb, because that's a possibility with combs and brushes. So now I am here. I am going to show you how I finish a weft and join another, starting by sewing, coming down through the very end of my first weft. I'm coming through the end and I'm using my same stitch, okay? And I'm making sure I'm really close to the end. So what I'm gonna do now is sew through the actual wig cap and just go down a little bit and then sew through the end of the second weft, because you will always have just a tiny piece of weft at the very end. So I want them to be flat and close together. So now I'm going to sew through the two ends again, just to make sure I have that added security. And that is all as far as joining them. What I'm going to do next is just clean it up a little bit, and I'm pinning my hair down so I can keep that nice smooth back and forth, but I'm also sewing through. I'm going back to my regular stitches now, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is just clean it up again, make sure it's nice and clean, and then go back again to my regular stitches. And that's all there is as far as joining the two. It's not that difficult. This is just a nice way to join them and have them look pretty decent. This is as good as it gets for me anyway. I'm sure there are people who can do it a lot better than I can, but this is as good as it gets for me. So I'm going back in again with the exact same stitch that I showed you all the way to the end. And now what we're going to do next is we're going to close it up a little bit. So here I am, I have that semicircle, and now I'll start going back and forth, so that way I can close the wig. So I'm just gonna do my stitch again, regular stitch, and I'm going all the way across in a straight line. Now I'm about to hit a corner again, and I will show you so that way you can see clearly. And I'm sewing, going under, and as you can see, I'm going far from the original weft because this is where the weft is going to end up when I flip it going back. Okay, so sew all the way to the point where your weft is going to be when you're flipping back, and then go through your weft and stitch it coming down, and then do the same original stitch that I showed you to kind of cage the weft as you go. That's it. Make sure every time you're about to turn a corner, you put your needle where you need your weft to be when you're coming back. That's where it needs to be, otherwise it's gonna be a mess. So here we are, we're hitting another corner. I'm going underneath and making sure the needle and the thread end where my weft will be. My weft will be underneath where my thread came out on my wig cap. Then I'm sewing through the weft right there at that corner. You can do it once or twice, depending on how much security you feel like you need, and that will bring it all the way back down onto the wig cap. And that is all I do. So here we are on the very last one. I'm so happy I am done. And I'm just sewing through the frontal as well as the weft so I can join the two. So just sewing through right there, and that is all. I'm cutting my weft now, and I'm going to continue sewing just a little bit through the frontal and through the weft and joining the two and making sure it's nice and seamless. And after that, I'm going to go ahead and sew through one more time from the very end of the weft. And then after that, I'm going through and underneath the weft so my knots can be on the underside. Remember what I said about knots being on the underside. So I'm gonna twirl it around and put my needle through that thread and bring that knot as close to that wig cap as possible. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut, and that is all for the wig. So here is my wig, and you can see right there, that's where my frontal and my weft are separated. That's the line of demarcation. I'm gonna close it. Now it's gone. You don't wanna see where things are separated. Again, I'll show you where the line of demarcation is in the very front of the frontal, and I'm just gonna pull it apart, and that's where my frontal is in the front, okay? It conceals everything perfectly. So I'm gonna take the wig off, and we are going to secure this frontal and make it nice and neat. So here we are. This has to go. I am cutting the piece in the front where the frontal is and exposing my frontal for all to see. So now that my frontal is exposed, these raggedy edges, they need to be cleaned up, okay? We're not doing this. So I'm going to start at the very end, and I'm sewing under. And the same way I stitched my hair, those very small stitches, because the frontal requires smaller stitches than everywhere else. The same way I did the frontal on the top is the same way I'm doing it on the underside, okay? Very tiny stitches going from one side to the next, because this wig needs to be seamless, and this wig is going to last a very long time. I am not playing games. You know, one of the main reasons why wigs don't last is because people don't make them well. So I've learned that from experience. Me not making wigs well in the past, I definitely had a harder time maintaining those wigs, keeping them from shedding. So this is one of the very most important things you can do to have a long-lasting wig. So very small stitches again. And if you do intend on having clients in the future, making wigs for people, you know, make a little hustle money on the side, definitely consider putting this video in a saved playlist so you can reference it in the future. And again, small stitches. Look how small these stitches are compared to the holes in the lace. That's how you should be thinking, very small, okay? And now that is all secure, the wig cap is good to go, and I am going to go ahead and do what I can to make this lace wig work. So you can see my wig sitting really nice and pretty. It should fit when you put it on. And I'm just marking it with permanent marker so I can know where to cut, because I do have some lace coming over. So that is excess, and that little tab needs to go. So I'm cutting it all the way up to where I marked it with the permanent marker by my ear. And I'm making sure I cut all of that out of the way and any hair that might be stray. Now I'm doing it on the other side. I had a little bit more coming over on the other side, but you can see the mark better on this side. And again, cutting all the way to my ear tab, so that way I don't have anything flapping on my ears. And that is all I do to clean it up in that area. And next I'm going to go ahead and cut my lace, making sure I don't cut where my hairline is plucked, because I need that for a more natural look. So be very careful. Your best bet is to use smaller scissors. Some sewing scissors would be perfect for this. I'm using my elastic band method to secure the wig on. I was going to go from ear to ear, but I decided against that. I decided I want to only sew on the wig cap, not on the actual lace, because you could easily damage your lace. And I want this wig to last a long time. I don't need the elastic band method, but it makes it so much easier for me to wear my wigs. Like put the elastic on, then put the wig on. It's so perfect. But this is how the wig looks just putting it on. This is how your wig should sit when you just put it on. It should be very, you know, almost natural looking. So I'm using my lovely Bees edge control. I love this edge control. It has a very nice soft hold, but it gets the job done. So it's not gonna like snatch your hair in the worst way. And it wears off after a while, like at the end of the day, so you don't have that product buildup. And it's very nice and softening on my hair. So after I put that on, I'm bringing my wig cap forward a little bit, and of course my wig as well, but I'm also putting some lovely bees right on the edge where I want my wig to sit. And I'm also just, you know, teasing the hair, teasing the lace, trying to stamp the lace down. I have a brush right here, a flat brush, and that really helps a lot to just pinpoint specific areas that need some work. So I put that on the underside of my lace, and then I just put it on my head, and that usually helps me out as far as putting my wig down. So that's all that I do. I am very simple when it comes to these things, and this is what the hair is looking like. I have not cut or layered it, but it's fallen beautifully, so I'm leaving it just like this. Like if it ain't broke, why fix it, right? So here I am just parting my hair so I can have a part, and I'm gonna put some makeup in there, but zoom in on that part, and it's a curved part right above the arch of my eyebrow. That's usually where my parts go. And I'm using my Afro-G mousse to just tame my hair there because I just don't want to do the most. And I'm putting some makeup right there. I don't want too much makeup or product on me, so I put the makeup in the part area, and I also put it around the hairline to blend with my makeup that I have on right now. And this is what we are looking like. It looks really good. Just to filter the color a little bit at the roots, I'm using black from my Urban Decay Smoky Eyeshadow palette, so that way wherever there's brown where there shouldn't be, it's fixed. And that's all there is. That's all I do, you guys. I have not done anything to my hair, no cutting, no layering. It's very healthy. It looks very nice. The ends look beautiful and glorious. I don't think it's necessary for me to cut because I wanted soft layers, and this is pretty much how I'm gonna be wearing my hair. I'm not doing anything to it at all, period. I'm done. So thank you for bearing with me. This has been a very long video. I will do more detailed videos. Every time I do a wig video, I'll try to be as detailed as possible. So your homework, your job, is to ask questions every time. Always ask questions. That way I'll bear that in mind the next time I do something. I'll constantly have that in the back of my mind because I always read the comment section. I try to get back to you guys. I don't stay active on social media. I'm not there every single day commenting and talking to people because I'm not a very social person. It takes a lot for me to like be very social. I've just never been that way, but I do make sure when I do find the social strength to comment, I get back to everybody. So definitely comment in the comment section, subscribe, give me a big thumbs up, please. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. I can't wait because I have so many videos that I have to put out. 2018 is gonna be lit. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.